how much you're going to be able to put in per year is going to also depend on some type of an assumed rate of return. And that's not set in stone, I don't believe, correct? There is some flexibility there.
There is, yeah. There's an assumed rate of return which needs to be conservative by nature. Going again, this is an equivalent of a pension. So volatility is your enemy in this plane. There has to be some form of volatility for growth. You can't have guaranteed rates of return unless you create insurance contracts within that program, which most people don't want to do. That said, there's an assumed rate of return, and the advisor's goal, our job, is to adhere to that rate of return within the strategies that we implement. We want to create more of a consistency of that return instead of higher returns with more volatility. That's a huge component of it. People who create defined benefit plans on their own, they have to, they take on responsibility for the investment structure, and that's super important. Because what happens is, if I have a rate of return of say 5 or 6%, which is standard, the actuaries set that up. It's pretty standard, right around that range. And I buy all stocks, and 2022 happened, and my account's down 25%, 30%. Well, the actuary now is going to run those numbers and say the assumed rate of return is 5%, but you're down 25. And so we have to catch up even more the next year, fund it way more to get to that target dollar amount because we got a lot less money. And often what happens with businesses is if the economy's down and the stock market's down, my business is probably down. Can I fund $70,000 more than I had planned based on, that scenario? And so it's very important that the return metrics are consistent and stable. And that's where, again, that strategy towards those investments is critical.
One thing to kind of couple with that is there's also this flexibility. So there's this range that people can, contribute each year. And there's what's called the target range, which is what James is alluding to, is assuming a certain rate of return. The target would be if you put money in this year and it always averaged 5% every single year, we know that this would be the payment this year. It would be perfect. We know that that's not the case because, the markets go up and down. But there is this minimum that you can put in, because if somebody's wanting to get to that $3.5 million maximum at a certain age, there's a target you have to put in. But there's some years, like if you don't have a good year and you don't make as much money and you're like, man, it's going to be pretty tough to put in. I thought I was going to put in 100 or 125 a year. I might only be able to do 50 or 75 this year. You do have flexibility to put in minimum amounts sometimes. And then when good years happen, you can put in higher than target amounts. So we do have the flexibility to be able to kind of put it in a range. And lastly, if for some reason somebody just can't do it even in that range, you can amend the plan and adjust downward or upward that benefit, because some people don't even pick the 3.5 million as a benefit. They may go, hey, if I could eventually get 2 million in that thing, that'd be great. So then the calculations are based upon that. So there is flexibility with the plan.